I come from the Ricardis Dios line. I actually descend from the Oliveras family. So my lineage comes from my mother and from my grandmother and from my great-grandmother. And they actually grew up in San Juan Capistrano. And my grandmother was the first matriarch of San Juan Capistrano. And her name was Viviana Victoria Ricardis. So she was the first matriarch. And my grandfather was the ranch foreman of the Santa Margarita Ranch. Yeah, that's a really important topic because a lot of the old buildings have been lost and the old ranches have been lost. But more recently, development is kind of encroaching on a lot of our traditional areas, including out on Ortega Highway, where they're building a lot of new homes and a lot of new communities that are the one right on Ortega Highway and San Antonio is one of the big ones that used to be the old site of the first mission that was built. So they actually encroached on that area. And as a basket weaver and a native foods advocate, those areas are reaching further and further out into our traditional gathering areas. And so they're diminishing quite rapidly. So we have no place to gather our traditional foods and our traditional materials for weaving. I do see change, but I think that from the point of colonization that border actually created a barrier between tribes. I mean, the border created a barrier between one tribe. So half the tribe is on this side of the border and half is on the other side of the border. So, and a lot of the people in Mexico have indigenous ancestry. So I think that it was the colonization process that influenced more than, the nationality of the people from Mexico. I think that they bring their same indigenous perspectives. Originally they did, and so I think that most of them are coming up for economic development now. I remember my grandparents, my grandmother in particular telling me that they had gotten shipped off to boarding school at Sherman Indian School in Riverside. And I remember her saying that her and her brothers, there was 13 of them, so they all went to boarding school. So I remember her telling me that the boys said that if they could make it over the mountain range and find the beach, they could find their way home. And so they were pretty skilled hunters, and so they actually made their way over the mountain range and made it all the way home. So that's one of the stories of resilience I remember that my grandmother told me. So, and that her and her sisters, they cried so much because they wanted to be back home with their parents that they eventually sent them home. So. My grandfather, he was the head ranch foreman for the Santa Margarita Ranch. And so from the stories my grandmother and my mother told me that the ranch was a gathering place for everybody. So a lot of people in the tribe were pretty poor, but it seemed that just because they were on the ranch and they had so many people, ranch hands and ranch foremans and, people on the ranch, that there was always a plentiful amount of food. So it ended up being the gathering place for people. And I can remember her telling me that during the holidays, like Christmas and Thanksgiving, they always had 4 or 5 turkeys and 2 or 3 hams, and everybody came over, and it was a gathering place. They were making tamales and everybody was there to gather together. I think over the years we've had a pretty good working relationship with the mission. I think that they've been very open to us being on the mission grounds and having access to places like the Old Stone Church. And because we have a celebration every year of the anniversary of the earthquake. So it's important for us to gather there and to remember those ancestors that died in that earthquake. And I've been on the mission grounds, and we've built the traditional house on the mission grounds twice. And as a weaver, I know that we have a group of weavers that go every week to the mission and weave at the mission. And it's about sharing, our culture with the vast number of students that come to the mission in order to learn about the history of the missions. So I think that they have made it really accessible to the tribe to come in and work with them.